A socially conscious business leader, she is, through words and actions, committed to creating an inclusive marketplace by leveraging a cross-sector approach of engaging business, civic, and community partners. A leader with a breadth of professional experience across a variety of businesses and industries. She's been a partner at one of the largest accounting firms in the U.S. She's also held senior positions with Snap-on Incorporated and Booz Allen Hamilton. She currently serves on the board of directors for myriad companies including Lifeway Foods, William Blair Funds, NextPoint Capital, and Skyway Concession Company, also known as Chicago Skyway. But perhaps her greatest talent lies in her uncanny yet consistent ability to exude a palpable sense of joy that lifts everyone around her. Please join me in the President and Chief Executive Officer of YMCA of Metropolitan Chicago and my good friend, Dorri McWhorter, in the arena right now.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Dorri, you and I go back a ways.
We do.
I remember though, I still remember, I was at Chicago Urban League. You were president and CEO of YWCA, and we met at an event. And there was, and it has been consistent, there was a light about you. I was like, she's just nice. and I'm not even being sarcastic. Not like you can't, and this can be sometimes, it's a great city, but it can feel sometimes so who do you know transactional if I don't think you have value. And before you even knew if I had value or not, you were, and I remember we started talking, we were like, we need to do something together. And I was like, I was like, you can do that? And you were like, yeah, we can do that. And I just remember that. So I want to thank you for that because I've only been in Chicago, I've been in Chicago for 14 years, and at that point I may have been here for maybe 3 or 4. So I really appreciate that.
Aw, well, that makes me feel good to hear.
Good. Let's begin at the beginning for the sake of this conversation. When and where were you born?
I was born here in Chicago in 1973, so I'm turning 50 this year, so yay!
Welcome. It's so nice over here. I'm about to hit 55.
No.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, I can't wait to get over there because it looks great.
Yeah, okay. Oh, see, this is what I'm talking about. You have always been this person. And let me say the thing about the 50s, if you thought 40s was you really didn't have any extra to give, 50s are, it's going to...
I feel it, so I'm sure.
It's going to be so good. Yeah, you lean good. It's happening because you feel it right as you turn it. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Lean into it. Let it take over. Okay.
Sorry what I said when I was 49 and a half.
If you don't tell anybody, 32.
Right.
So here in Chicago, hospital or home?
Hospital, I was told.
Okay. Tell me about the man and woman who created you.
Well, I'm so fortunate that my mom grew up in Robert Taylor Homes. My dad came from Macomb, Mississippi, so really far south in Mississippi, not too far from New Orleans. And fortunate that they connected, and here I am, and was just raised by just incredible humans that I just literally, my dad is and my mom are one of my, 2 of my most favorite people on this earth, so yeah.
My goodness.
Well, one is in heaven, but one is on earth, so yes.
Amen. But you still feel their presence.
Absolutely.
Good. You have siblings?
I do. I have an older sister, and I have.
I'm visually following it in my head.
Okay,
like, what are you doing?
No. So I have an older sister, and I also have half sister and 2 half brothers as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Younger?
Younger, yeah.
So you're sort of a middle child.
I guess I was raised with just my sister though, so yeah.
So you're either a middle child or the baby.
I'm the baby.
Oh, okay. Well, I have.
We're close though, but I'm just I barely made it.
Surprise.
Baby,
No,
yes.
Listen. If it's by a day, I was the baby of the family until my youngest sister, who's 13 years younger, came along and changed everything.
Okay.
It wasn't until she was born that my mom actually would say my name when she introduced us.
Okay.
So I both liked and did not like being the baby anymore. But we'll move on.
Sure.
Are you close to your siblings? What was the relationship? You talk about your older sister.
Sure.
What was your relationship growing up?
So we were really close, and so she's we actually, because we're 21 months apart,
Oh, wow.
and so for a time, my mom dressed us a lot alike. The people thought we were twins until like I shot up past her and was like, yeah, we're not twins.
We're not doing that anymore.
And so, but yeah, so I heard that my mom would tell us stories that she never had to potty train me. I just followed my sister, and whatever she did, I just followed her. And so yeah, so we were close and still close. And she has a daughter and a son, so my niece and nephew and my babies, and so yeah, so I get all of them.
Is she local?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so you all get to spend time together.
We do.
Where did you go to college?
I went to University of Wisconsin-Madison for my undergrad, and Kellogg, Northwestern University's Kellogg School of Management for my MBA.
I'm sure people might know of both of those schools. Were you a good student?
It's interesting. I was a really good student in high school. In college, I was like, man, this is a lot of work. Okay. I had fun that first year. I really buckled down, but then after I was like, But I did well. So
you pulled through.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. And was it in college, was it because there were more stimulation, more to do?
I think so, because college is so interesting. So of course you're serious about your studies, and in particularly given that I was in the School of Business, you have to be serious about your studies. But in addition to that, you're working through life's challenges. You're figuring out who you're going to be as you enter adulthood. Yes. So there's a lot happening. And then too, while I was in the School of Business, I actually took a lot of my electives in African American studies, and so was just really almost creating my own sort of pathway. And I'll say that because when I went to lead the YMCA, and people were like, "Oh, you're going to go run this organization whose mission is to eliminate racism." I was like, actually, I've been interested in this for some time, and I literally could go back to college and talk about my experiences there and my focus on studying there as well.
Isn't that something? What was, before we get to the breathtaking tenure, and that's, I'm not being precious, I've watched the tenure. We talked about during the time, even before I met you, YWCA and when I worked at Youth Guidance were in the same building on LaSalle. So I would talk with your staff, I would see what was happening. I know almost in real time the true cultural change from top to bottom that you created there. But let's go back to the very first job that gave you money for doing it. What was your very first paid job?
So my favorite, I say my favorite because I loved it a lot too. My first job, and one of my favorite jobs, is when I was actually, my mom worked in retail, and I was the stock boy.
Come on.
So I felt so proud. I would go change the light bulbs in the dressing room, and it was so funny because the manager at the time, they lost their budget for their stock person, and she had to let me go, and she was just crying, and I was like, Rosemary, I'm gonna be okay. I'm 16.
I'm
gonna be all right. And I went right down the mall to the down the hall to the mall and worked at Walgreens.
Okay,
and
right.
So
Yes.
so it was so fun. I still recall though because she was just so dear and was just so thoughtful. And I love the job because it was really like I was active and helping out, and it made me feel.
And you
really
worked with your mom.
And I did work with my mom.
Was that, I would imagine, depending on what day you ask my siblings, we go, oh, that's magical, or oh no.
It was magical. She's just a great person to be around anyway, and so having the opportunity to spend time with her in a work environment was fun too. Yeah.
And you, I'm going to talk about your mom because I know she has a large presence in who you are and where you draw your power and strength. I've heard you talk about your mom and your face lights up. Yeah. Tell me about that woman. Who is she?
So, not ironically, her name is Doris, so I'm named directly after her, so Dorri. Wow. And so people ask me all the time, is Dorri my real name? I'm like, yep. And my mom's name is Doris, and so wasn't that creative, but it works. Right. And so, she's just an amazing human. What I so appreciate about her is that she had her two girls, so it was me and my sister, and she made life all about us. And so I just felt supported, loved to this day. I call my mommy when I just need just any type of support. And she's funny. She actually turned 70 earlier this year, and so. And I look at her, and she's just so vibrant, and her personality is just so big. And I'm like, the good thing is that I'll never change because I see that she's still the same goofball sometimes that
Bravo.
that I
Yes.
grew up with, and so she's just such a great soul. So I'm so blessed to have her.
You really are. I mean,
Very much so.
even in this space, have conversations, the dynamics. Loving people and liking them are not mutually exclusive, especially when
Absolutely.
it comes to family.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That's fantastic.
For sure.
Let's talk about YWCA. You went to YWCA, and did you leave kind of corporate for profit and make this big leap to an organization? We look at it now, but the organization you walked into was one that was, fair to say, transitioning and looking for what its future in an ever-changing world would look like. Is that fair to say?
That is fair.
All right. So walk us through you coming in and how you looked at this. You changed, and they seem like small things, but I watched as titles were being changed, and I was like, I see what she's doing. It's palpable. People's jobs almost came to life through the title, and it wasn't this rigid sort of. It became very, like you, very animated in the best way and very visual. But how did you come in and talk about some of the key things that you did to, one, settle the organization, get a staff? Change management is tough. Even if staff knows up here that change is necessary and you're the agent of that change. And here is a total different story. So just talk about that.
Sure. So I joined the YWCA. I actually have been on the board for 8 years and was a partner at a public accounting firm at the time at Crow. And as I was looking at the business and the finances, it was just never reconciling for me that we were doing this incredible work, but every quarter we come in for our board meeting and it was doom and gloom, doom and gloom, doom and gloom. And so those two pieces just didn't connect for me. And so once the CEO at the time transitioned, and the search firm was asking, of course, the tenured board members what we felt the Y needed, I just found myself like, I think they need to do. Yeah. Since you asked me, right? And so because of that, though, what I found is that I was just so excited about the possibilities of the organization. And so I threw my name in the hat and was fortunate that to go through the search process and get selected. But when I came in, what I recognized, too, is that we had a lot of people that were just disempowered. And if you could imagine, they had a CEO transition. Sure. They were looking at the same financials we saw and kept seeing the decline. And so what I felt, though, is that if I could bring really help them realize the possibilities that I saw, because fundamentally when the work is good, like that's problem solved. Yeah. Right now it's about how do we bring the right resources to the work, how do we create the right structure and the culture around the work to actually get the work done so that we can move the organization forward. And so yes, one of the things I evaluated was, as you looked at the leadership team structure, including their titles, it just felt very rigid. And so one of the things that one of my colleagues, Brian Starr, whom was just an amazing individual, and was working as our in our development department, and his title was like Major Gifts Officer, and I'd walk by and go, Major Gifts, and decided that we needed to change that.
Did, okay.
Because, I mean, what is that, right? And so what we ended up changing his title to, it was a Director of Inspired Giving, and actually we ended up evolving that to Inspired Engagement. Because what we wanted to do, it's like, you don't want to major gift people, you want to inspire them to support our work. And so, and he had the personality to hold that. So when you mentioned that people's titles were absolutely about their roles and responsibilities, but it was also about how they conveyed that title and how they showed up in there as their person. And so that's why I could change titles and roles for people all the time, because I do believe you have to live into those. So the job description is one thing, but who you are and what you bring to that is another.
Absolutely.
And so another role we had was a Chief Paradigm Officer. In many organizations, it would be perhaps an operations leader, but what we were saying is that we wanted to shift the paradigm as to how these services get delivered. And so we wanted to say that to the market, so we made her her our Chief Paradigm
Give it the
Officer.
name.
Our HR person was our Chief Possibility Officer because we felt that it was really important for us for our people to lead us through the possibilities. And so our commitment to them was to do that as well. So we changed the titles to reflect what we were trying to accomplish. And so if you read our titles, literally we were like possibility, empowerment, engagement. Only thing we didn't change is my title was CEO and the CFO because we had to make sure that someone knew who was in charge.
Right.
As well as where the money was. But in terms of the other roles, we had a Chief Reimagination Officer, and her role was to reimagine how we deliver childcare. And so all of these roles, and literally I wrote them down on a napkin and said, we need some empowerment up in here.
Yes.
But to me, those titles and roles are messages to the market.
Absolutely.
And so
And to the employees.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it was twofold. It was absolutely about the roles themselves and the work that had to get done, but it was also how, as you mentioned, the individuals embodied those roles.
Yeah.
And I felt it was important. And you could just see such a sense of pride when people introduce themselves as the Chief Reimagination Officer. And no one knew what it was, but that was her job to explain it.
Right. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And here's how all of that turned out. 8 years on the board, then you served as 8 years as president and CEO. Let's just run through the highlights. I'm going to miss some. Let's just do it.
That's fine.
The organization, the operating budget, the one that used to be gloom and doom, grew 4 times over. 4 times over during your tenure. YWCA Metropolitan Chicago expanded its service footprint to 10 new locations, completed 7 mergers and acquisitions, implemented paid family leave, and developed a retirement plan to include retirement options for thousands of child care providers and small business owners. And you went, that's not enough. Let's go ahead and lead an effort, to, wow. I'm reading and I'm going, you developed an exchange-traded fund, an ETF for women's empowerment, which is on the New York Stock Exchange. I remember seeing the photos when you were over there, as WOMN. It's on the stock exchange. You did that in partnership with Impact Shares. This was the first nonprofit investment advisor to develop an ETF product. And then in 2019, we said, let's induct her into something incredible, and it was the Chicago Innovation Hall of Fame. After all of these successes, in March of 2021, was it March?
August.
July, okay. You said, I'm going to move from all of this, and I'm going to change the W to an M, and I'm going to go over and be president and CEO of the YMCA. Why? Let me reframe the question. What drew you to that?
Well, a couple of things. One, as you mentioned, we had done incredible things at the YWCA, and I felt so strongly that the team was in such a good place. And after being there 8 years, I was pushing like, okay, so what else are we going to do now, right? What else are we going to do? And how else can we change the world? And at the same time, coming out of COVID, this organization, which again, not related, but of course we share similar initials, was looking to transform because of COVID. It had really seen a lot of decline because if you could think about, most people know the YMCA for their fitness centers, their child care services, so all services that were in person and heavily impacted by COVID. And so coming out of COVID, as their CEO transitioned, they were really in a position to transform. And that's what I like to do. I always do I call it my evil genius fingers for good.
Okay, right.
I can go over there and help them. And saw really the opportunity and such a good platform to help create change. And it's interesting, when I told my team that this is something I was considering and spoke to how they had experienced significant furloughs and layoffs because of the nature of the work, they were like, you need to go help them.
Oh,
and I was like, you all are so sweet
wow.
and kind.
Wow.
And that really made me happy to know that they saw what we were able to do there and they wanted that for others.
Do you fear at all? How do you reconcile this incredible success, and do you have any concerns that there's an expectation that you are going to do it's not being precious, it was remarkable transformation, and that anything less than lightning striking twice, do you have any concerns about that, and do you need to, have you taken care to manage expectations? Because what you accomplish at YWCA is breathtaking.
Well, I appreciate that. And, I am aware, right? And then it doesn't help that I have Wonder Woman tattooed on my arm, and so people expect things. So I'm like, just a tattoo.
Things. Right, it's right.
Not for real.
It's symbol.
Right, symbolic.
Yes.
But having said that, I do think that it's important to always just manage expectations, because while, yes, we did wonderful things at the YW, and I also believe we're doing wonderful things at the YMCA, it's just that circumstances are different, environments are different. There's always differences in terms of what you can leverage to be successful in a place. And I think some of those characteristics are there at the YMCA, but I am trying to be very thoughtful and mindful that it's not YWCA Part 2. This is YMCA. Right. It has its own resources, its own challenges. It's all of that is new, and we're going to make sure that we address that as the organization it is, and not make it sort of a copy, because it isn't.
Right, absolutely. Right. Absolutely. Okay, who is James?
My boyfriend, my husband.
My man.
My man.
Yes.
My husband, my puppy daddy, my puppy baby daddy.
Yes, come on. You two are partners. How did you meet who I'm going to dare say, how did you meet your boyfriend, your puppy baby daddy, the love of your life? When and how?
So I met James back in 2004 in Racine. My childhood girlfriend had a party, and he was attending the party with his cousins, and so I was like,
Was it at first sight?
For me, it was.
Okay.
For me. And partially, I think it was for him. There's a story that we're still trying to get to the bottom of, and we've been together 18 years at this point. But he had said, well, my friend had called me, it was like a couple weeks later, and said, this guy, James, wants your number. Of course, I remember who he was. I was like, okay. And he's like, they told me you wanted my number, that the girl in the white pants wanted. So we both remembered each other.
Okay. So somebody helped you all get it together.
I was like, yeah, that's not true. I know I didn't say that.
But I received your call. Welcome.
Right. So we connected. We got numbers exchanges, and we connected. And it's been good. And it's been great.
Okay. We're going to come back and do one final segment called 3 for the Road.
Okay.
We'll be right back after this. Stay with us.
What's going on, Chicago? I'm your host, Darius Caffey of The Table On Air, your primary source for learning about what's new, what's happening in Black LGBTQ culture. Joining us next week, we have lead stylist of Blake Edward Hair Care, and you're not going to want to miss this one.
And I never say that that hair is my passion. I always say that people are my passion.
Make sure to tune in on the cantv.org website, the CanTV Plus app, Channel 19, or wherever you can stream us.
Dorri, we are at the final segment of this show. It's called 3 for the Road.
Okay.
I know you've seen some episodes before, so just for the viewers at home, I'll do a quick overview. Okay. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. You're going to give me 3 answers.
Okay.
I don't know why, but sometimes this tends to trip people up.
Okay.
So stay alert.
Okay.
Okay, you ready? All right. First question. If you could have dinner with anyone living or dead, who would you choose and why?
Oh, I want to meet so many people. It's such amazing. Actually, Christine Lagarde.
Okay.
So, Christine Lagarde used to be the Minister of Finance for France. And so she is one of the first women to lead the International Monetary Fund, and is just a total badass. And she wears over-the-knee boots.
Okay.
But I just think that just her leadership and just her influence on the world, I would just love to just talk with her and just sit down and have a conversation.
Love it. Great start. Yeah. Question 2. Any regrets?
Never.
Boom.
Never. I don't make mistakes. I call them unplanned learning opportunities. I don't do that. No regrets ever.
Okay. It is the tone and the disdain for regrets.
Yes.
Okay. Love it.
Learn, live, learn, keep it moving.
Come on. 2 for 2. Final question. One piece of advice present-day Dorri would have given her 21-year-old self.
Ooh, don't move to Atlanta with the boy. Don't do that. But after that, another story, another day.
James, yes. The
Yes,
boy,
James,
no.
the other boy. No.
Okay, fair enough.
But having said that, I would say just do you. Do you.
Love it. I have a little time here before Tasha starts waving me. You are joyful. You have and you can do a fashion show of tulle skirts. And you walk, and I've seen you walk into meetings with cool jackets on and tulle skirts, and just joyous. For the less astute, I would imagine there have been times in your career specifically that you have walked into rooms so attired, and folks have made the less than smart assumption about what your skill set, what your leadership, what your steadiness was. Is that a fair assumption?
I would agree with that. They've miscalibrated.
Okay. Did they learn today?
I think they did.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, can't judge a book by its cover. And the fact that particularly I think in business specifically that there is an expectation that to get things done you have to be hard,
Yes.
rigid, everything that I'm not.
Yeah.
And so, but I've managed to be quite effective just showing up. That's why I tell 21-year-old Dorri to continue to lean into being her because I embrace the joy.
Yeah. You're going to be back soon. Oh, yes,
Well,
yes. What?
You always bring me
Okay.
so much joy.
I'll take joy.
And I wanted to make sure that I give you a little something to remember us by at the Y.
Okay. I love the why. I love the why.
And we
Come on now.
We
Oh,
want to
oh.
keep. We want to keep
On
you.
a day like today.
Yes, yes.
On a day like wait,
Yes.
let me Vanna White it. I don't know what camera's getting it. Caesar, is that you? Come on. Yeah. You look, you know I love a t-shirt.
Oh yes.
Oh, look at the
That's our YMCA. We got a little fuzz on it. Gotta get that off for you.
okay. Oh my goodness. Right, we have to present it proper.
Yes.
Oh, this is what I love. The power of play, the power of
Absolutely.
imagination, the
Absolutely.
power.
The creativity,
Yes.
the progress that we can make through play.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we are similar because we say here at CAN TV, experience the power of community television.
Oh yes.
This is more things.
Yes, of
Oh, come
course.
on.
We have to give you all the
Oh,
swag.
I'm coming.
Oh, you have to use that. You were saying it's warm in here. You have to use that because it's really cool.
Oh,
Look at them.
Oh my.
Cool with the message.
You are. That's who you are. You may be joy filled, but it is never wasted energy.
Oh,
My goodness.
So sweet. Thank
Okay,
you.
on that note, Dorri, you may come back at any time ever.
We'll have more swag too.
Oh my God! Always bring the
We're always
swag. It's not.
upgrading the
It's not
swag.
about the swag, but if you can bring the swag, that's great. I wish you the best. I've been a member of YMCA. That has been before pandemic, where I worked out. I was so thrilled to hear about your coming in and bringing this new exciting way where you will try anything if it makes sense, and there's no barriers, and an organization like this so deserves that leadership. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you, Chicago and beyond, for joining us tonight. Let me leave you with a final thought for the road, courtesy of author and inspirational speaker Simon Sinek. Working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something we love is called passion. Until next time, take good care of you and each other. Good night. Oh, it's fabulous. Oh, the power of play.
Yeah, great.
Love it.